I don't think he knows what's going on inside his own agency, Tom. I have no malice against the man. He's a 37-year-old individual who has no background in finance and mortgages. So he's a patronage appointee. The president is clearly more concerned with loyalty than he is with competence. And I think we just have to wait until we get somebody else in that position. We're certainly not going to take Fannie Mae and Freddie Mac out of conservatorship while Bill Pulte is in that
Right.
job. That's for one thing.
Mr. Ackman says, leave it alone. Is Fannie and Freddie, Chris Whalen, a going concern forward for the nation, our listeners, our viewers?
Yes, they really support half of the mortgage market. The middle class, upper middle class borrower typically goes through Fannie or Freddie, and they are an important utility, but that's all they should be. We should not be trading the common voting shares of Fannie Mae and Freddie Mac because the government always controls it, Tom. There's a guy named Louis Brandeis who used to sit on the U.S. Supreme Court,
Yeah.
and almost a century ago, he defined a true sale. And he said, if you retain dominion over the assets, then it is fraud on its face. So we should not commit fraud by selling voting shares to individuals who do not control either company. I've said to Ackman and others, we should buy back all the voting common shares and fund this thing with debt and preferred. That's the best way to do it. And make them utilities. We don't need to have any alpha here. There is no alpha.
So, what do you think the path forward is for Fannie and Freddie here, and who's going to drive that?
At the moment, nothing is going to happen.
Okay.
The two enterprises have been turned into government agencies. As I've written in my blog this week, there is no possibility of them coming out of conservatorship because they don't have the people, they haven't invested in the systems and other things that they need. So today they buy loans from conventional lenders, they package them in the securities, and they sell them on to Wall Street. That's what they do. That's it. Unfortunately, they think they're federal bank regulators. They're not, but they treat the industry with a certain degree of contempt and indifference, which a lot of people find really irritating.
Right.
I work with many lenders around the country, and I think the best thing to do with these entities is turn them into utilities. Just dumb them down so
Right.
that all they do is buy loans, issue securities. That's it.
Chris Whalen with us. It's Richard Christopher Whalen out on Twitter at RC Whalen, Whalen, also on LinkedIn as well. Paul, here's a quiet tweet from Whalen. Fundamentals, question mark, like what, question mark. Bitcoin is an option to take advantage of a greater fool. It has no intrinsic value. Electronic poker chips that people have decided to bid up in value. Chris Whalen, everybody in this year off the diving board into the deep end of retail and Bitcoin. What will be the carnage 1 year out, 2 years out, 3 years out?
I think this summer was actually the high point in many crypto assets, particularly Bitcoin, which is the leader. Wall Street killed Bitcoin, Tom. When we started putting up ETFs and everything else, we correlated these kind of interesting tokens to Wall Street. And that was the end. Remember, when Bitcoin came out in 2009, it was supposed to be an alternative to the dollar, a means of exchange that wasn't controlled by banks. It's since mutated into a speculative vehicle with all sorts of, accoutrement and everything else. But to me, the dream is dead. Whatever value this thing had as a separate means of exchange away from fiat currencies is gone. And what you see today is that the major central banks have been buying gold. Gold is now the leading reserve asset in the world. They're not going to back their currencies 100% with gold. They don't have to. They could put 20% backing behind them, and they would be quite robust. The U.S. is the example here, Tom. I think there's only a matter of time before Treasury and Congress, they have to act, are going to revalue U.S. gold stocks. And I think the Treasury should buy and sell gold, just the way other nations in the world do. And that will be our index for inflation, by the way. We can teach our people about inflation by getting gold back in the center where it belongs.
If Bitcoin isn't what it used to be, it's more of a trading commodity. How do you feel about crypto in general? What's the role of broadly defined crypto in our economy?
The tokens that go up and down in value to me are just a speculative vehicle. It's a polite form of fraud that's tolerable between consenting adults. It's like party poker, there is no difference. Stable coins, I'm not sure what the use case is because it's essentially a bank deposit. You give me your cash, I have to put it in high quality liquid assets that are safe kept at a bank, and then you give me the use of this coin. If I'm Walmart or Amazon and I offer my customers a discount for buying my coin, I think it makes sense. Right. It's like a prepaid gift card. But is it an investment vehicle? No. I think it just evidences the amount of inflation that we have in our system, that you have people chasing all of these things, looking for returns, instead of doing what they should be doing and, buying stocks. It's like private credit, Tom. Imagine if people, instead of going into private equity, had just bought the S&P 500. They'd be much better off, and they'd be liquid.
Chris Whalen with us here. We're going to continue right now. A little bit of a Google angst out there, I guess, with chips and all. NASDAQ down 1%. Paul, NVIDIA down 6%.
Yeah, NVIDIA down 6%, and raising about $243 billion in market value because there's some reports out there that Meta is going to be using some of these Google chips. So there you go. So it's a little competition in the chip market. AMD also trading down on the news about 6%.
We got a surprise in January. Chris Whalen, of course, nails it. Form 1099-DA. Chris Whalen, it's coming, isn't it? 1099.
Yes.
What's it? We have 1099-R, 1099 this, 1099 that. Chris Whalen, how much joy are we going to have in 1099-DA?
Look, when we domesticated Bitcoin and the other tokens, the IRS wants their slice, right? That you can't escape. So there's a great accounting firm in Chicago called Accounting Solutions, and he writes these wonderful pieces. That's where I got that, by the way, Chris Adamson. And, it had to happen. They want their money. And the funny thing about blockchain, which is the output from Bitcoin that was created at the time in 2009, is it tracks all the transactions. So it's a roadmap for the IRS to come after you. It's really great.
Chris Whalen, thank you so much. Folks, I can't say enough. Throw out the cherubs this fall. I'm bored. I don't know what to do over the holiday season. Throw Chris Whalen's Inflated at them. It goes back to the Bank of the United States. It's a really wonderful, readable walkthrough at history.